Oops. Ah. Oh, jeez. Test, test. Okay. So here goes. Um, this is my review of my um the work that I've done on the Firebat, Cobra Firebat. I featured this with Mark on his podcast, the others, and on the 3D printed Joe's podcast. So here goes for those who are interested in how to use Onshape to um, make things for themselves. So the way Onshape works, Onshape's a lot like other 3D programs, similar to say Fusion or SketchUp or a bunch of the other parametric design programs. So the way I started, again, how you would normally go about um, looking at this is that first you have to try and get familiar with the concept of planes and which plane you're looking at. So in this case here, I've highlighted top plane, front plane, and right plane, which are the kind of the standards that which you're going to use. Here's the little gimbal that kind of lets you sort of navigate around and keep yourself oriented. You can double tap on here, go to the top plane. You can use the gimbal here, and then you can rotate to a front, or you can go to the left or right. So navigation here is probably one of the first things that you're going to want to be able to do. You can also use your right mouse button, depending on how you've configured it, but you can do right mouse button in my case to rotate around. I can again bring back these planes so you can see what it's doing. So, and then you can um, scroll with your mouse wheel, and then right click and rotate around. You can see I can move the front plane, right plane, top plane. Pretty simple, just takes a little bit of getting used to. From there, what I did was I went, and you can go through my tree. I established what views I wanted to do. And again, I think what Mark's doing with his work um, on his helicopter design, uh, you can see it also, how to set that up. I've set up a bunch of different views. Um, so here, what I did was I imported from the 3D Joe site the different views of their Firebat, or what they have for the Firebat for the blueprint designs. Then I oriented them, moved them around so that they're in line with each other. And you can see I've got the top view, side view, front view, and bottom. And I actually added the bottom view, so I would swap that out for the top view depending on what I was working on. To get the views in, you can click down at the bottom here, insert. You can import your different images. So in this case here, these are the images I imported. I imported a bunch of reference here. I also imported the reference for the instructions on how to assemble, so I can take a look at that and see if there's any information that I want to see there. Here's the reference image. What I did was I cropped all the images out from there. I separated them out into various fragments, so you can see the top, bottom, side views, etc. And then once I had them there, I established sketches for each of these views. And then from there, there's a button, I believe, up here where you can import an image onto a sketch. So say I am in this view. When you get, and you can edit the sketch, there's a insert DXF or DWG or image. So you can insert your image onto that sketch, and then from that sketch, then you can orient it with various tools. There's a transform tool on here that will allow you to sort of manipulate and move the image around so that it's actually in the right position. So that's that. From there, once I established those drawings, then you started to get into drawing it out. So you can see here, so say on the top view, I actually activated a bunch of the pictures, but I'll go back a bit. So the first one, and this is in sort of the order in which I put them in. The first one here, this top sketch on the profiles, is probably the top body sketch that I actually started, or did I put it in here? Maybe not. I think I might have named it but didn't use it. Oh, here. Oh, there. No, it's there. So there's the top body view. You can see how I sketched out the top body. From here, I only did half. Again, I think Mark's made it fairly clear that if you do half, it's half of the work, right? Because when you look at it, if you only do half, it saves you from trying to mirror everything. There's actually like a mirror function both in the sketch and the 3D modeling side, where once you do it, you just model it all or mirror it all over, and then you save yourself a ton of work. So I did the top, sketched out the top, then I sketched out the side view. So you'll see a side profile view here. And again, that's referenced off of this side view. Like that. So you can see I referenced all that, tried to get sort of the geometry. In the case of the drawing, I had to make assumptions. I couldn't see because this mid-wing here is blocking the view. I kind of had to guess where that cut was going to be. So I put that in. Got an idea of what plane goes across where the canard is, and then where this wing profile is, and then where the canopy sits. All that was established right off the get-go. From there, I also separated out the wing. So the wing had its own profile. I can hide this view. So you can see I did the wing profile. And then I also did a profile for the front. So this is something that's a little different than I see a lot of other people who are modeling do. Is a lot of people, when they model, from what I can tell, is they'll model like in big chunky blocks. So like you'll have a big square or a trapezoid or whatnot. I wanted to make my model slightly different, so I actually wanted this wing to mimic what I saw in the image and what I see in the pictures, which the wing drops and then comes up on a slope here. So the wing isn't just a flat surface that comes across, but it has a profile to it. So I drew in that profile here where it drops some more and then gently comes up and then goes off on an angle here instead of straight up. So I put that in as well into my drawings. From there, once I got all those sketches in, then I started to try the modeling side. So from there, I put in more planes. Shut some of these off. That surface we can shut off. It's highlighted. Well, that's a cockpit loft. So from there, I started to put in various shapes that I saw. Let me shut that one off. That one's a bit distracting. Go take this and pull this up to about here. So then I started to draw out different endpoints that I saw on the model. So in this case here, I don't know how easy is it for people to see. I modeled sort of the end of the plane. So back here, I did sort of a mid. Again, maybe I can pull up this drawing. So from here, I referenced this geometry here so that this was the dimension that I got off of the end, where I thought, okay, the end of the plane only goes from the midpoint to here. Then at this point, there's another transition where there's an angle coming off of the end where I said, okay, well, I'm going to put another plane here because I want that reference for that. And then I put in another plane. And from there, I actually started, I think I did another plane. Sorry, again, this is sort of my first time. Oh yeah, here's the other plane here. It's like a mid plane, or a mid rib, I called it. So from this point all the way to the middle of where it's thickest, and then where it sucks back in and then goes in. So I put those references in. Then from there, then I started doing the lofts for the plane. So from there, and again, this is something that's different than I see a lot of the other modelers do, is I'm using lofts. So to get the geometry so that you have a smooth transition and that you actually get a more plane-like feel where it's not boxy, I used lofts. So I went from this point and I made a loft that went from here all the way to this midline, or this mid-rib. And you can see from there, if I shut off the top view and the front view, you can see how smooth that curve is, where it goes, and it's a much smoother, it transitions nicely, and that's how it goes through to that mid-rib. From there, I did another loft for what I called the engine compartment. I can grab that. Oh, I can't. 1 second. So I did another loft for the engine. And again, it's all referencing the drawings. So then from that midpoint, it tapers back in at the end. So I wanted to mimic that taper. So I lofted from this plane to this plane. And again, it transitions smoothly. So then you can have this nice transition here. And then from there, I thought there was another. I probably could have done this all in one. If I believed that transition is smooth, it probably would have come out equally as nice, if not a little bit nicer, if I didn't have this last bit. But again, I'm new. I don't really know exactly what I'm doing. So I wanted to go from here, transition nicely to here, and then from here to here. So this distance here is a little bit flatter. It doesn't have as much curvature. So again, all this is done by lofting. So I lofted that surface, and then you get that shell, basically, or the surface. And then that's what generates these surfaces here. So you can see when I actually highlight, now I have kind of the shell of the plane there, you can see. And it's two parts. So you'll see this front and the back. From there, I wanted to cut away where the bottom was. So I did another, I did a drawing on the side, I believe. I took the drawing from the side view. Sorry, this one here. And then I extruded that surface to cut through here. Then I split the surface. So I actually made that plane, or that surface, cut through the back body part. And then from there, I just deleted that bottom part. So then that doesn't exist anymore. So then that cut that across. And again, referencing the side view, that's kind of, I had this very tiny indication of where that starts and what angle it comes off of. So I used that as reference and said, okay, well, I'm going to do that. And that's where I extended this line through those bodies and then cut that profile out. Again, maybe I'm not using the proper terms. It's all I just do. Then I filled the hole. So this is all fill. And then you continue. Didn't extrude. So again, it's a surface extrude through here, because I wanted that angle through the body. So I did surface. I extruded a surface out of, again, the first sketch of the side profile. Split it again. And then after splitting it, did another fill. So that's all filled. Did another extrude here of that surface. So I did another extrude here of that surface to cut for the canopy. Did a split. So now that's split. Didn't delete it. Then did a thicken. So now I have my first actual solid body here, which is the canopy, I believe, is what I thickened. Or maybe not. Nope. Sorry, I'm wrong. I thickened the body. I think I left the canopy out for a while. So at that point, now you have the front and the rear fuselage shells. So these are actual 3D shells that can be printed. They have thickness. I believe it's like 1 millimeter thickness. And then that's the body of the plane, of the Firebat. Then from here, now I started working on the wing. So the wing, I did a projected curve. So one of the things that's difficult to do is, again, if you're always working in a plane, but you have something that moves through two planes, gets a little bit more difficult. So I did what's called a projected curve. So what I did was I took two different curves. I took, if you remember, I did the wing profile. I think I did a front wing profile here. And I did a top wing profile here. And so the top wing profile shows me top view where I want that to be. But it's planar. It doesn't, it's all in one plane. It doesn't do me any good that way, because then my wing will be just flat. It'll look, again, it'll look just like that. I don't want that. I want it to follow this curvature. So what you do is you do a thing called a projected curve that combines the two. So I had this front view that has, this front view that has this profile here that goes, dips down and comes up. And then I also had combined it with this top view where it goes on the top view curve. And I combine it with projective curve. So now I have a 3D curve that goes through space. It comes out, down, up, right? Which gives you that more organic shape. Instead of very flat geometry, now you have some real shape to it. So I did that. I did that also for the front. Same thing. I used that same profile. And I did the same to the front so that they mimic each other. So the front and the back are of the same profile here. Then I started to connect them. So I had 3D splines connecting those two lines together at various spots. I don't know if they're 100% necessary. I think I just wanted to close that whole shape. But from there, now I wanted to make the wing. You can see here, that's the wing I ended up with. So the wing, again, I started with a plane on this end, generated a plane on the right, generated the sketch. So this sketch I wanted, and again, it's kind of on the inside of the plane, but I needed to start somewhere. So I wanted that surface to kind of look like this, even though it's not really an airfoil. Like an airfoil would be like bigger in the front and taper off in the back. This one I wanted it to, it's a surface that's coming out of the surface of the fuselage. So I just went, I want it to look like this. And I just kind of sketched something out. Did another plane. Did I use that one? I'm not sure if I used that one there. Getting lost in my own stuff here. Wing lofts. Oh, here's the sketch for that one. Let me shut off some older sketches here so you can see. It can get a little complicated. This one, again, this is kind of my first big project that I've selected for myself in Onshape. I think I bit off quite a bit. It's been fun, sometimes frustrating, but ultimately kind of a fun, it's been a fun project. But it can get daunting and you can get lost real quick. So there's that sketch profile. Oh yeah, here. So then there's a second sketch profile. So if I can turn this one on and this one, now you can get a better view. So again, similar. Let me shut off that body. So now you can see the progression. I wanted this profile to loft into this profile. Again, a lot of it's lofting. And then I put in another profile here. This is where it started to become more of a wing. and then and then the tip here. So all those are off of the geometry of those connection lines from that where I located all these splines, all these curves. See here, this might explain it a little easier. So again, this is the 3D curve that went through those projected curves, and I connected points here, 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 and here, here. I used those to actually create my planes. So you can see all those planes went through those lines. Once I had those vertical planes, then I made the sketches for the wing profiles. And again, you can see it's closer to an airfoil. It's not exactly an airfoil, but like I made these splines that kind of curved out to make it look like an airfoil. And again, if you look at my models when I physically printed it, you can actually see there's it actually did print. It feels like an airfoil there. This is very thin on this side, very thick on the front end. And it honestly feels like it could fly. Even though, again, it's just a toy. So from there, because I had those profiles at various positions, and they're all connected to each other here, there, and there. That's when I did some more lofts. So then I lofted from the first to the second, second to the third to the fourth, and then that's what finally gets you your wing shape there. So that's how you get a more organic looking wing shape without having to do a bunch of fillets and then adjusting fillets, putting square geometry and try and round it out. You can actually create a profile and then use that profile to create the rest of your wing shape. It's a lot to kind of figure out. And then once you start to do it a few times, you start to get the hang of it. When I did this wing, I probably did it 3 times before I finally figured it out. So again, the way I'm explaining it might sound a little bit overly simplistic, but it took a while to get that shape to look the way it is. And again, I even had doubts on this because I wasn't sure if I could put the panel lining, do all the other stuff that I wanted to do it to it. So there was a lot of doubt on whether I could finish this the way I wanted to. Luckily, it's all worked out so far. But that's how I got to this point where you can see the fuselage. It's interacting with the wing. I actually put in this little mini fuel tank boss that actually is sort of the negative point for, I think there's a bomb here. Closed it off there. And then put on this tip stabilizer wing on the end. And again, this one's canted as well. And again, that comes from putting in a sketch and then canting it. Here. So you have, again, I did another projected curve. So I drew the wing here on a 2D flat plane that's vertical, and then I took that and I projected that against what angle that I wanted it here, and then that's what tilted that whole drawing over. And then I extruded it and thickened it, and that's why it looks the way it does. So that's why it turns out like that. And then once again, you'll see these have fillets and stuff like that. I try and push the doing fillets out until I'm actually finished, because if you do fillets too soon and there's too many of these interfaces here, it causes all sorts of havoc to your model. So I try and push those out to areas where I know I'm not going to alter this anymore. So um, that's when I'll do the fillet. If I start doing fillets all over the place, I think it messes up the geometry. It makes cutting or altering my geometry a lot harder. So that's what I've got so far. I'm going to end it here. This is the first one. I'll see how people react to it. Again, it's not perfect, my description, but I can continue with it. Eventually, I'd like to be able to do live modeling where I'm doing that helicopter design, but I figure for the first couple, to kind of review how I did the Firebat and give people an idea of how much work was involved in creating the Firebat design, would be a neat one to post. Anyways, thanks very much. I will talk to you guys later.